Hello, and welcome to another painting. My name's Sean, this is Brushing Up with Sean, and I wanted to start off showing you this nice basic canvas. It is a 16 by 20. Here are the colors that I'm using. As you can see, I've got some blue, red, yellow, white, and black. So we'll be doing some color mixing and doing different things throughout this painting. But first off, I'm going to take a medium to large size brush. And I'm going to go ahead and put some of that blue on there. Nice little bit of that blue. And as you can see, it is just coming right off my brush. I'm going back and forth, side to side motion. Now what I did was I put a little bit of white within that, mixed in there. So I'm starting off with this background stuff. And the background stuff, you can mess up. You can make mistakes. I want you to mess up. I want you to make mistakes, all right? We're just getting used to this acrylic paint that I'm using. Now it's a basic acrylic paint, nothing fancy about it. Just a nice primary blue and a white. But as you can see, just coming off my brush nice and easy. Different streaks, there's different light blues coming on and off that brush. But what I'm trying to do is cover at least a lot of that canvas, any of the little dots that are poking through. Now, as you can see, where I did start on that canvas is about halfway up. Now, you can do different areas. I think if I were to make this paint again, I would probably make the horizon line a little bit lower, just so I can fit a lot of the top stuff. And you'll see what I mean as we kind of go in through this painting. But nevertheless, as you can see, still doing the motions of back and forth, side to side with a powdery light blue. And I try to take as much of that paint off as I possibly can on my brush before I start dipping it in some more. If I do need to kind of blend a little bit more, I might put a little bit more on my brush, but the main goal is to get that paint on there and have it start to dry. Now, I just put a little bit more of that plain blue into my light blue, making just a darker version. And it's the same brush, just back and forth, side to side motion. Again, all good if it's a little streaky, imperfections are wanted, still getting used to the paint. There we go, a nice big dip. Whoa, and that's the plain blue coming out ya. Nice and hot. In this case, nice and cold, because blue is a cool color. Now take a look at that. Again, same technique, back and forth, side to side motions. Now as an artist, you're more than welcome to paint the side edges of your canvas. I leave that entirely up to you. You're the artist. You can pick and choose whatever you'd like to do with that. All right, now as you can see, it's on nice and smooth. And I'm adding just more blue to just make it a little bit more vibrant. Add a little bit of that dark. And by taking it and extending it, it actually blends a little bit more of that light blue. And you just bring that down a little bit more and more, and it kind of disperses that paint. Now, take a look what I'm doing here. Boom, boom. There we go. Adding more blue onto my brush. Same brush. Back and forth, side to side motion to give the illusion of water. This is where the water is going to be coming in. And it's very important when you do this water technique. I'm just using plain primary blue, letting the brush strokes do the work. But again, I'm doing this back and forth, side to side motion, which is going to really, really help out the illusion of water ripple waves. That's what gives that illusion to those water ripple waves, is that back and forth, side to side motion. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. So just keep on going. Now, so my canvas might be a little bit larger than yours. Just for visual purposes, it is a 16 by 20. And yes, this painting will be used in one of the paint and sips, or probably more than one of the paint and sips that I have coming up here. I'm heading into April 2025 now. Some pretty cool news is today is the first official day that I am not working a normal 9-to-5 job, and on top of doing all the events that I do. So that is huge for me. It's a little scary, gotta be honest, but you know what? I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna just go after my passion, and I tend to lose myself when I'm doing this artwork, and hopefully after 14 years of having 2 jobs, that's enough for me, and I can continue on. Not like I'm gonna not be working, because, well, painting's really for me not working, but it is going to be awesome for me to actually focus a lot more time and a lot more energy in doing painting. All right, so with that said, new step. Let me go ahead and just get some of this paint on my brush. And as you can see, I'm just kind of mixing a little bit, but I'm using a smaller brush now. And what I did was I mixed in some red into some yellow and just made whatever kind of orange you like. A little bit of more red will make it a burnt orange. Less would make it a lighter orange. Now, for this big light source here on this painting right here, I'm going to position a paper plate wherever I want on this canvas, and this way it's almost centered in the sky, and it's to the right a little bit. And I'm taking that small brush with the orange paint and just wrapping around, just drawing around, tracing around that paper plate, using the paper plate as a guide to, voila, get me a nice, easier made circle than doing it by sight and hand. And I tell you, just that tip alone has saved so much time, energy, headaches, and everything at the events that I do, because yeah, it is very difficult making an actual circle. So what I'm doing right now is just mixing some more of that red and yellow and creating more orange. And in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and just use a plain brush, a nice medium-sized brush, but add a base layer of white. Okay, I'm still going to have that orange on the side, but I want to add white. And the reason why I'm doing this right now is because we're about to add a lighter color on top of a darker color. So if we were to add orange on top of that blue, it would look really dull. It wouldn't look very vibrant at all. It would be very, I don't know, a really not prettier color for these painting events. People really like the vibrance and stuff like that. But with adding white, plain white acrylic paint, it acts as a primer, meaning it's gonna cover up whatever you've got going on there already. It adds a base layer of brightness. And once that acrylic paint dries off, as you know, acrylic paint dries off pretty quickly, we can add our oranges or yellows or reds or whatever color you want. But that's a good way of doing it. You can actually see the outline of that orange I did with the small brush, and look how much darker it is compared to that white. By adding white, it is going to be able to change the dynamic of this painting quite a bit. So exciting stuff for color to eventually be put right on there. Now, taking the small brush and adding some zigzag side-to-side motion in my water, just breaking up some of that blue. And that is going to add the illusion of ripple wave highlights in this water. This is a nice way of doing it. It's very quick, it's very easy, and to tell you the truth, I do paint these paintings pretty fast. During my events, it is a 2-hour event at the pretty much minimum, a 2-hour event, and that means I have more time for these paintings to dry. During this session, I don't have much time for this painting to dry because I'm teaching you all just automatically. So a lot of times I would let this paint dry. I would let it sit for, just a few minutes as we kind of talk or hang out, or if we take a breather or a break at the painting party, anything like that, just to kind of delay and let that paint sit and settle. But again, acrylic paint is so user-friendly that it does dry off pretty quickly for me. And I definitely appreciate that, especially because we add layer after layer after layer on this painting. Just breaking it up. You can see there's no rhyme or reason or right way of doing it. I'm just kind of taking a little bit of that highlight underneath the light source there and just kind of spreading it out. As I go further down the canvas, you can see that I do add some more highlights, kind of getting a little bit bigger and extending out. But now, done with those highlights, gave the white just a little bit of time to dry off, but look at the vibrant color able to come off my brush. First is that outline. See the little small outline still of the moon? Holy moly, what a difference just adding a single layer of white will do on your painting, just to allow that vibrant, that beautiful color and paint coming off there. It is so choice. Look at that. There you go. Ta-da! And if you can see it's picking up some of that white, because it's adding that kind of like pastel-y kind of feel, you know, the vibrant. It starts to fade away because it picked up some of that white. Now that typically wouldn't happen as much because I would have given it more time to dry at the event. I do a lot of different activities, games, things like that during the event on purpose, so these paintings can dry. All right, so take a look. Following my outline of that white that I laid down. And just taking my time. Slowly but surely, I'm gonna get there. Fill it in with color. And again, you can see there is a pastel look to it. That's only because it's picking up that white and I didn't give it time to dry. Gave it a little time, but since I'm teaching this painting all in real time, I've got to, make sure that I give it a little bit of time to let it dry. That way I can get some color on there. But I've managed to let it dry enough to get some pretty vibrant color, which is awesome. You can add a little bit more. Try to get rid of some of those pastels a little bit still. Smooth some things out. And there you go. Have fun with it though. And you can change things up. You can add more of a darker color, a little bit more red. And you can change the vibrance. And look at it, got rid of a little bit of that pastel look. I'm just blending it in now, you can see. Just say again, paint's too wet still. Not exactly what I want, but it'll do. So typically when I do these paintings, all like right here, I love how the ones turn out, the new ones that I paint, the ones that we do at the event, a little bit better because, well, I got more time. I've got the vibrance. I'm still entertaining. I'm still doing all these things, but by giving myself more time, I'm able to let those paints dry and it looks just a lot better. That's pretty typical. And again, if you're doing a paint and sip or a painting event, you don't really have to make your examples so elite, so insane, because people are going to get intimidated by that. You're going to be like, how the heck am I going to paint that? You're going to be kidding me. We got to keep things simple because you're teaching this in 2 hours. Okay? That's a difficult thing for any artist to do. Let alone if you're just, if you're inexperienced, gosh, you're just like, oh my gosh, you might feel so overwhelmed. So the last thing you want to do is kind of make it so good, your example, that people are just going to be like, no, sorry, I said good day. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want them to mentally check out before we even start. All right. And just kind of detailing things up there. Again, trying to get some of that pastel out of there. It's okay. It looks decent, but, I can't wait to see what I do when I make the replicas. And as you make replicas of this, I'm not going to just do this one and done at an event. There's probably going to be multiple events while I paint this exact painting. And each time, I get better and better and better. And it's easier and easier and easier. Okay. As you can see right now, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the same leftover paint, some of those reds, oranges, yellows, and just kind of covering up some of those white streaks, adding the colored reflection in the water. That's why we laid down a little bit of white. Again, I would have given it more time, possibly more layers of thicker white, just to make sure that oranges and yellows aren't really getting captured too much by the blue. But since I'm just, again, time crunching it, this is what's going to happen. And I can't, like I said, I can't wait to see my original. It's going to be, when I do an event at the, and, I can't wait to see how it really turns out. Not just, teaching it pretty quickly here. Take your time, mess up, make mistakes, back and forth, side-to-side motion with the water highlights of the color. And there you go. Perfect. Perfectly messed up. And there you go. So again, go at your pace. This is why I try to do these YouTubes, because if you do my class, it's a couple hours long. You can always go back to my YouTubes and watch it, pause it, rewind, breaking it down. I'm going to give credit to Pino's palette, giving me the inspiration and idea of this painting. It's not exact the same original thing, but I saw it on there, and they're one of their walls that they have their artwork for you to see, take pictures, hang out, and these are the ones you replicate too when you're there. And this particular one caught my eye, and I said, okay, this looks easy enough to paint for people, and I can teach it, no problem. And so added a few different tweaks on it, got inspired by them, didn't want to make it exact same, but at least kind of, took it and just kind of said, okay, I'm gonna put my little spin on this and just have at it, see what happens, see if people like it. You might do these paintings and people might be like, not as into it as some other ones. All right. I happen to live in Arizona right now, and a lot of people love their cactuses out here. So this is definitely more of a Zen painting. So, okay, let's take a look at what I'm doing now. I mixed up some color on my brush and made a turquoise, more of a light pastel turquoise. I did that by mixing blue, yellow, and white. That'll make that turquoise. And I decided where I'm going to put the peak of this mountain, which is kind of in the middle of that sun. A little shifted over, not a big deal. And I'm using the brush, letting the brush do the work for me, adding these natural highlights, lowlights, all sorts of things. Yep, and you can add different shades of turquoise and light turquoise and blues and whatever you like all over the place. But I want to at least cover it up. Here's me adding some shadowing. Go, just added a little bit of blue on the same brush. Again, the paint is still pretty wet, so it's just going to kind of take some of that with it. And then I might add some shadowing on the other side too. By just taking the brush and letting it do that thing, it's like kind of using like a palette knife or a paint knife. It just, the tool does the work for you. You just got to learn how to hold the brush or the tool and the movements and all that kind of stuff with the skill set that you'll learn. Using some of the leftover very light blues and turquoise, I added actually just some white on my same brush that had turquoise on it, and just going back and forth, side to side, just covering up that gap right there, adding kind of a misty highlight down below. Doo-doo. There you go. Believe in yourself. You got this. Perfect. Now, let's go ahead and just add a little bit more white on my brush, same brush, and I'm adding a little bit of a snow-capped mountain. It's like a Mount Fuji kind of style thing, huh? Plain white, just a simple layer, breaking it up, adding some highlights to the top of that mountain. And don't worry, we can add some more brighter highlights a little bit later on. We just got to let that start drying. That's a little touch right there. So look at all the stuff we covered. That's a lot. There's a lot of stuff we covered already. But now, oh boy. Woo. Here comes an interesting step. Get ready. And a lot of times you just got to get brave. And you just got to say, whatever, we're going to do it. So I got plain black, small brush, and I'm making my tree branch, cherry blossom tree branch. Plain black, being bold. These are kind of like a twisted up kind of tree. Branches tend to go all over the place sometimes, so you see that. But I really wanted it to take over some of this dead space on the side. Look at all that space that was just kind of hanging out there, because you got the light source, you got the mountains shifted over to the right a little bit, so we can add this nice bit of tree and eventually blossoms to cover up some of that empty space. Now as I go further away from my tree trunk, that original big line what we're making, my branches, as they expand out, they do get smaller, they do get skinnier. That's just nature, that's what happens. So make sure you note that. A small size brush, flats work good. I like using that. You can use just a round brush, but a small brush is probably the best one to draw with, something you like to draw with. But it's plain black. And yes, look at that. You got to get brave and sometimes cover things that you've already painted on. Even I know you're scared sometimes, and it is scary. You're like, wait, I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. Well, don't worry. If you do mess up on some of these branches, no big deal. We'll just add some blossoms on them. Okay, we'll just add a few blossoms, a little stack of blossoms right on them. And that can get rid of your mess up and your mistake. Look at it, just kind of making some lines, kind of no rhyme or reason. They're just kind of expanding out, and reaching to the sky. There you go. And now, once I got those branches a little bit dried off here, I'm going to go ahead and take another small brush with white and red and make pink. Maybe making some pink. The more red I add, the more fuchsia that pink will be, the less red, the more bubblegum pink, and whites will come off. So I decided to go with the light pink on this one. And it's just about making blots or dabs or ovals connecting to each other, random clusters of this. You don't want it all symmetrical or else it's going to look weird. You want to make it look like it's happening naturally in nature. Now by dunking my small brush in red and white and not fully mixing it, all right, so you're going to be seeing streaks of some red and white on your brush, not mixed into pink just yet. That's going to give some natural texture to when you blot it on your canvas. It's going to give you like such a unique look and feel, a little bit more like it's happening naturally. You want to add these random clusters here, there, everywhere, but look at how much it brightens up and your eyes focus now in some other areas. It takes up some of that negative space, some of that, just open areas, and it just adds texture. It adds, life to the painting, a new color, vibrance, anything you want to say that would just kind of just make it look like, oh wow. And again, this is why we want those layers to dry off, because you can see we are covering things that we've already done before. So it's the easiest way to do is let it dry off. There you go. There you go. And see, I'm taking my time. I'm not trying to rush it. Just relaxed, letting the brush do the work. It's just a dab or a blot or an oval. And are all of them going to be perfect? You guessed it. Nope. Nope. No way. They're all going to be different clusters, different colors of pink. And that's what makes your art unique. No two are going to be the same. This is a one of one, truly. But take a look. Look at all that. Look at the pink. There's light pinks. There's dark pinks. There's a little bit more white on some areas. And as you can see, I'm working on covering some of the areas that were the first areas of painting, because I know that paint's dry. And now I'm going to head over to the sun, which hopefully should be pretty dry, and it looks like it is. So it's giving me still some vibrant colors, but again, I covering certain areas, and man, it just looks really pretty. There we go. A detail here, a detail there, everywhere a detail. And typically during these events, as I'm getting close to winding down, we're probably about 10 minutes away from being done at an event, I tell everybody that, hey, you know, when we start doing detail work like this, that means you're getting close to being done. And it gives them a time frame of, well, okay, I gotta hurry, I gotta catch up, or cool, I know where we're at, I know where we're going, and we got a little bit of time left. And I like to be definitely encouraging to people, because again, they tend to forget they're trying to do an epic painting in just a very short amount of time. And it's hilarious. You'll see a lot of people's response, or just, you know, you have to always say that. Well, I don't. And I don't always say that. But I will encourage you, saying that yes, you are doing a good job in a short amount of time. That's 100%. So I'm not going to shy away from that. Now you can see I just added some dark fuchsia leaves. That's just a more red into that pink. And that'll make kind of a darker fuchsia. And really, essentially, it's up to you when you want to decide, okay, I think I'm doing pretty good at this. I think I'm wrapping myself up. You'll start recognizing those times and patterns when you're, you know, looking to be done with the painting or wanting to move on. Myself, I'm pretty impatient with painting, so I typically will go fast and just say, okay, here we go, here we go. You can keep working on this all day and night, but that's not going to happen. Now, as I'm doing these pink areas here, these blossoms, and you're just kind of following along, all the rest of that painting is still doing its thing, drying off, and we want that. We tend to go back and forth and all around as we work on these. And here we go. I added plain white on my brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of an extra layer, a little bit of and highlight plain white to my snow-capped mountains in the background, just to make them brighter and more vibrant by giving it a little bit of time to dry off. Look at the vibrance. Wow, what a difference just letting something just dry off a little bit does with acrylic paint. Holy moly. I'm going to take some of that same white that I have in my brush, and I'm going to be adding some streaks of highlights in the tree trunk and little itty bitty ones in the branches. And that's it for me. After this step, this thing's going to be just winding down. You're more than welcome to sign it, date it. I like to put my name. Some people do their initials only, but I like to do my name, a 101 sometimes. I like to put the year, like, so this year's 25.